everyone. Who is Scarback?
Scarback was a real wolf. We met at Sun Valley when he wandered through our yard, which was in the mountains. And I thought how beautiful he looked. And for a moment he stopped and he looked at me. And then he turned and continued to walk. And I told him how beautiful he was and how much I loved him. And he stopped and he turned and he looked at me again. And then he turned and walked off and walked over the top of the mountain and disappeared. The next day, old Scarback came back again. And each time he would come back, we would get closer and closer until we could feel each other's heartbeat. And that's when I noticed that his fur was a different color and that he'd either had an old wound and been in a fight or he was born that way. But from that point on, we were friends. One day, Carol heard that a wolf had been killed on Highway 75 outside of Ketchum, Idaho. And I was worried that it was Scarback because he didn't show up. And I thought I'd lost him. But then Carol called and said, "Don, come here quickly." And here came Scarback with a female. And he was strutting like a show horse. He was showing her off to me. He was actually just showing this female wolf who was very skittish because she'd probably never seen a human being before. And he was so proud of himself. And that's basically the story of how Scarback and I became friends. And whatever happened to him, I'll never know.
Do you remember the day that how this story came to be?
I was taking a nap, I believe, or I was sleeping, and I was sort of half awake and half dreaming, and I started telling Carol this story, and she was writing it down word for word as I said it. And I went back to sleep and really didn't know that I'd done it.
So I remember the day that you read it after we put it all together. Did you remember when you read it for the first time in book form? You read it at Christmas with the girls, with my girls. Do you remember when you read it, did you realize it was your story?
I did and I didn't. I did in the fact that I was able to describe Scarback, and I think I was the only one that would be able to do that. So yes, I knew I had to have, but on the other hand, I couldn't tell you the exact words that were written down.
And how do you feel now that it's going to be a book that's going to be out into the world, the story?
I hope the book brings peace to those who've lost somebody they love very much. Scarback went on to go home. All his loved ones were there. His pack, his litter, all of them were there. And isn't that what we hope for us and for our loved ones? And perhaps a child who's lost a grandpa or a mother or a dad or an uncle, maybe this book will give them some hope or some joy that in the end they'll be back with them again.